to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, early afternoon or late afternoon to everybody. We have a special presentation to start off our meeting from the PICO Green Region organization. They're going to provide us with, well, come on up, Ted. This is Ted Duran.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. As the chairman said, my name is Ted Duran. I'm PICO's External Affairs Manager here in Bucks County. It gives me a great deal of pleasure this afternoon to come to the township to award the township its fourth Green Region grant for conservation efforts and trail development here in the township. I'm sure it's no secret to the township residents and also this board the tremendous amount of work that the township has done for a number of years now in the development of parks, recreation, open space, and trails. It's been a tremendous effort, and you're to be commended for it. And I wanted to take this opportunity this afternoon to present to the township another grant. But before I do that, I wanted to draw your attention to the slides up there on the screen. These are photographs of some kiosks that were built and some signage that were built by the township with the assistance of a Green Region grant that was provided to the township in 2012. So it's fitting that we're here in 2015 to recognize the township and provide an additional grant. So you can see that the work continues, and this is a tremendous project. This particular Green Region grant in the amount of $10,000 is being presented to the township this afternoon to assist with the construction of what the township refers to as Heritage Trail, which is a shared-use pedestrian bike trail along Southeastern Road between New Britain Road and Turk Road. And it's part of the township's ongoing effort to connect trail segments in the township and create safer and better access to the parks and open spaces here in the township, and eliminate the need for folks that want to use those trails and recreation areas to go out onto the highway in order to access them if they want to do it by pedestrian, by walking or through biking. So this is a project that's going to certainly add to the trails in the township and create another great connection between open spaces here in the township. Now, the total project cost, if memory serves me correctly anyway, is just a little over $294,000. And the township received a sizable grant from the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development to fund this project, utilized their own funds as a supplement to that, and then we came along and provided what admittedly is a modest amount of money to the township to further the project along. With me should be Holly Harper, but Holly got hung up in traffic getting here from down in the southern parts of our service territory. She may come here during the time that we're here. But I did want to mention that since 2004, PICO has utilized the professional services of Natural Lands Trust. And for those of you that don't know it, National Lands Trust is one of the premier conservation organizations in the region. PICO's job is to keep the lights on and the gas flowing. It's not about being experts in conservation and land preservation. So when we undertook this project, this program back in 2004, we sought out Natural Lands Trust to provide that expertise. And they actually run the program. Their team of experts evaluate all the grant applications that come into PICO, and they help make the selections, and then they administer the program. And since we began the program in 2004, we've awarded nearly $1.6 million in grants to 210 projects throughout our service territory. And so with that, I'm hoping that we can get a picture with a presentation style check with all the members of the board present. And here's the real money also.
Thank you. In addition to funding, helping us fund these projects and create these projects, PICO also provides a volunteer crew every year to help us with our, the past year with our native species garden. And so they volunteer and give their time and come out with their boots on and sweat and dig the ground. So PICO does a lot to, as a partner for Doylestown Township and in this region, so we really, really appreciate it. Come on up, guys. Let's take a picture. Okay? In front or behind?
Usually they do it in front.
No, right. Oh, yeah, on here, I'm sorry.
Okay. I understood.
Is that what you got?
Oh, I thought he said here.
That's in the background over here. I apologize.
We're flexible.
Okay. Why don't you stand right over here? Yeah. Right now. And you're here. You're right here. Great, perfect. Oh, we got another car. Okay, I'll make sure you're done. Okay, all right. So good. And it's absolutely perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
On my way out, I know you have a full agenda, but one thing I'd like to do finally before I walk out of here is acknowledge all of the work that your Public Works Department does, your staff, your police officers, and your emergency responders. You do a tremendous amount of work to support us in times when the weather's ugly and we have we have those nasty power outages, and we have to get the lights back on. And it makes it so much easier to know that we have your full support, and we appreciate that and want to acknowledge that also.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
So thank you.
And to your point, we can always call, and we feel like we have an access through TED when we have issues with a particular neighborhood and we need some additional attention. We know we got this guy who can help us out, and you have done that in the past, so thank you for that.
All right. Have a good evening.
Any visitors or other comments tonight? Ernie, want to take the mic and identify yourself, please?
Ernie Gash, 15 Wiltshire Road. Excuse me.
Ernie Gash, turn around and speak into the microphone.
I'm sorry.
Because I get a hairy eyeball back there.
Okay.
Yelling at me.
I'm
There you
sorry.
go. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Ernie Gash, 15 Wiltshire Road, and I'm a member of the senior regional task force for the township. And I'm here tonight because I'm kind of from the old school. I don't use internet. I don't use anything. But our committee now, when we meet, televises, and it's put on the township's cable presentation. And I've been responsible for the senior track week of the county of Bucks for a number of years. And this year, in February, I interviewed on this the people responsible at the county. And the results were this. I've been doing this for about 12 or 15 years. We had the greatest number of people there. We had about 12 people came out, which they could have run, but they just wanted to see how it went. And what really brought my attention was Andy Warren, who was a student when I taught at William Tennant and coached William Tennant and was a county commissioner, came out and ran. And the success, which I have to look at, of what the township is doing by coordinating the electronic media and the committees within this is just outstanding. I get emotional over this because I'm retiring now from the PIAA. This was my 57th year doing the district track. I did it 7 years with Charlie Reeser, and I did it 50 years as a PIAA official. And I'm just happy to be part of this community, which gave me that opportunity because I taught at William Tennant and I taught at CB East. And I just am just really great because I understand what sports do for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ernie Gash, one of our 2012-13 Unsung Hero Award recipients. Thank you, Ernie, for all your service. Anybody else? I saw another hand. Ray?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Ray Hendrick on Spring Valley Road. I'm here just to underscore what the gentleman from PICO had to say. In the last 3 years, leading residents and non-residents on nature and bird walks along the trail system, I'm completely always overwhelmed when people come to me who are not from Doylestown Township and comment what a great trail system we have. And now that the link with the meadow has been completed, we have many various ecosystems along the Neshaminy Creek, the meadow, Hart's Woods, and you're just to be commended. And once again, Butch and the guys in the maintenance department do one hell of a job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Somebody going to pass these comments along to our public works departments, please? Thank you. Any other comments from anybody else? All right. Next meeting of this board is Tuesday, October 6th at 4 p.m. And a nice segue, the Doylestown Township Neighborhood Trail Awareness Day is this Sunday, September 20th, starting at 8 a.m. We're meeting at Doylestown Hospital, so please come, hike, bike, walk, whatever. It's a wonderful opportunity to see what we've been doing and enjoy your community. So please do that. The yard sale is Saturday, October 3rd in Central Park, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Rain date is October 4th. Leaf and yard waste recycling, township residents only. Drop-off site is every third Saturday, March through December, 9 a.m. to 11 at the New Britain access road to Central Park. Volunteers are needed for planting at Bridgepoint Park, Saturday, October 3rd is the big plant at 9 a.m. and it'll go on until noon. And you can get more details from our site. And the CB Cares Educational Foundation and Doylestown Township Parks and Rec are joining in the global initiative of young people around the world in performing arts on Saturday, September 19th. That's this Saturday, 6 to 9 p.m. at the Covenant Bank Amphitheater in Central Park. That's a big deal, so hopefully everyone can come. 6 to 9 p.m. this Saturday, September 19th at Covenant Bank Amphitheater, Central Park, for the global initiative of young people around the world performing arts event. Okay, next item is the approval of the minutes from the August 18, 2015 meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Any corrections? Yes?
No.
No?
I seconded
You
before I said that, yeah.
You good? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Correspondence regarding the Central Bucks Regional Aging Task Force. We were just speaking of.
Yes, you have a memo from Kevin Jameson in your packet, which he is looking to change the name of what we've been calling it to the Central Bucks Regional Senior Task Force instead of the Aging Task Force. Looking to have the budget allocate $500. Initial purposes for acquiring a video camera. He's been using his personal camera for a while and printing some literature, posters, things like that for marketing, and also allocating some space on the township website, having a page like we do for some of our other committees. I'll say number 3, it's very easy to do. As the board knows, we'll be looking at doing our budget work sessions. We can always talk about that at that time, or if the board's okay with it. And lastly, the name changes up to.
Okay, let's do the 3 things separately. No biggie on changing the name. I think that's a great change. What do you think? going from the Central Bucks Regional Aging Task Force to Central Bucks Senior Task Force. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, no problem with it, the folks having a page on our website, correct?
We can easily accommodate it if
Okay,
that's
I don't
board's
think we need a
choice.
motion for that. And then the item, the third item, or the second item, is a request for $500, which we will refer to our, to the Budget Committee conversations.
Right.
I'm willing to approve it now.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, they got their $500. All right with that? Yeah. Chair of the Ways and Means. Okay, thank you
Barbara, I'll
very much.
mention that Ernie also serves on that
Yes,
task force
Ernie.
as well.
Oh,
Just
and
another
I'm being
thing.
interviewed on October 5th by the Central Bucks Senior Task Force Chairman. Okay. Next item on the agenda, any reports from the solicitor?
I have nothing at this moment, Madam Chairperson.
Chief?
Yes, there's a letter in the packet there requesting that the board take action on granting tenured Officer Peckich, who was hired in September of 2014, and he successfully completed his one-year probationary period effective September 3rd of this year. He's completed all requirements required of the field training program, and I recommend that he be granted tenure.
Okay. Is there a motion? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Chief. And tell Officer Peckich, congratulations. We look forward to seeing his face here pretty soon. I'd like to see what he looks like. Forgot. Next item on the agenda, report from the Township Engineer.
Nothing at this time.
Manager?
I have two things. The first is informational. As the board knows, Barbara and I have participated in the DART strategic plan. I've provided a copy of the summary report from the consultants that worked with the committee, and at their last meeting, they're going to start to focus on some of the items to help apply for a technical assistance grant through PennDOT. And then the second thing I have are selection of dates for our upcoming budget work sessions, and we discussed these at the Ways and Means Committee, and hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at your calendars. And we're looking at October 6th at around 5, following your Board of Supervisors meeting at 4 that night. And October 14th at 4 o'clock, and October 20th at 4:30. You have a board meeting that'll follow at 7 that night.
Okay. Is everyone good with those dates?
Yes.
All right.
Well,
Done.
yeah.
We'll advertise those.
What time is the 14th again? Say the
14th are at 4. Now,
4.
I think somebody else said they may need to push it to 4:30. We can do that.
That's not me. Does somebody else have that problem?
No, okay.
And 20th is immediately following.
No, 20th
It's
is
before. It's before your
4:30.
At 4:30.
Yeah.
So we'll set those times at this point. Okay.
Okay, thanks. So, October 6th at 5 p.m., October 14th at 4 p.m., October 20th at 4:30 p.m. for budget work sessions. Everyone is invited, and please participate. As far as the DART update, I think they did a great job. Please, if any of the members have any comments, let me know, let Steph know, and we'll take them back to the planning committee. So it's been that was a great exercise. All right, next item on the agenda, comments from the supervisors. We'll start with Sean.
Yeah, just two items quickly. One, again, a reminder, please come out on this weekend for the Trail Awareness Day. Bring the whole family. The weather's good. There's all different routes and opportunities. You don't have to go through the whole system when you come, obviously. We have 20-some miles. We don't expect everybody to do that, but encourage everybody to come out. And just briefly, on behalf of the Central Bucks Regional Aging Task Force, now the Senior Task Force, I want to say that, thank the rest of the board for going along with that, because the committee is doing a really good job. Both Ernie, Ed in the back, and Kevin Jameson, the chairman, they do, like a lot of the volunteer committees, thankless jobs. And just the new format and moving to the new location, in his notes, you see we've almost doubled our attendance, although small steps. Hopefully we can keep the ball rolling and do some good things. So That's all.
Can you be any more specific of where we're meeting or where the...
We're at the...
Doylestown Hospital?
Sure. Well, at the Central Bucks Senior...
No, I mean the trail awareness.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Sunday.
And the seniors can also come to the...
There you go.
No, okay. The trail awareness starts at Doylestown Hospital at 8 a.m.
Where in the Doylestown Hospital campus? Do you know?
It's the parking lot closest to where their parking garage is. There's a small lot as you enter. It'll be there, and
It'll be
the
marked,
ice cream ride that was a big hit last year will start at 10 o'clock. So and on our website, we have the mileage for each of the rides.
Great, thanks.
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 There you go.
Got anything, Ken?
Yes. Wanted to talk a little bit first about the EAC committee, or Environmental Advisory Committee. And we've mentioned before about how the committee has worked real hard in putting in the native garden. And they're also now came up with a different strategy how we're going to maintain the garden. So if there's any volunteers out there, you are welcome to come. It's going to be the last Saturday of every month. They'll be there from 9 to 11. So instead of trying to do a lot of volunteers and spending a lot of hours, the committee wants to stay on top of it. So they're going to be out there every last Saturday of the month. And this is up at the Environmental Education Center by the pond there at the Native Garden. So just welcome anybody who can attend that. The second one for EAC is they're having a seminar, and this is on September 25th at 6:30 at the Activity Center down back here. And it's titled Planting with Purpose, Saving Nature at Home and Beyond. It's a program by Edie Parnham and Barb Elliott, and they're from the Valley Forge Audubon Society. So everyone is welcome. Please try and attend if you can. Again, you'll learn some good stuff about native gardens. Traffic Committee. I'm going to put another plea out there for more volunteers for Traffic Committee. We are currently down 2 and maybe down a third starting next year. So those who may have an interest in volunteering on traffic, please reach out to Stephanie or someone at the Township Building, and we'll get your name identified, though. So it's a good way to get introduced and bring issues with your neighborhood to the committee. And just one last note, or a reinforcement about the budget work sessions that Barb had mentioned. We've done a lot of different things this year with the budget and how we are looking into the different parts of the information. And these sessions that we're having is really drilling into the details. So it's very eye-opening, so we encourage anybody to come and please participate and ask questions. So that's it.
Thank you. You have anything, Rick?
I do. As many of you know, volunteers are near to my heart. I don't know where this township would be without volunteers. But I had a planning commission meeting, which are volunteers, and we went to what they call the Bray track down at Bristol and Lower State. And we walked the property, and the interesting thing was I was the second car to get there, and the engineers were there, both of them, and they said, "Is anybody else coming?" And I said, "Well, how many do you usually get?" And he says, "Oh, usually 2. And turned around, and here came the third car, and the fourth car, and the fifth car. We had 8 cars, 2 residents, all the volunteers from the Planning Commission, plus staff. It was just, felt good that there were enough people in the community who really cared. And you don't have time to do everything, but no, there are other members also doing volunteer work. And as Ken said, there are other committees that surely could use some volunteers, and it's a great thing to do to make a better community. So thanks to all the volunteers.
Thank you.
That's it.
So while on the volunteer push, I'm going to put a call out for the the Telecommunications Advisory Board. We have 2 openings on that right now, and encourage people to come out and learn what that's all about. Come and attend a meeting. Our meetings are on the website. You can find our meeting schedule there and learn all the different things we're doing with social media, with the television station, and get involved.
And one of the most successful events that I think I've attended in a long time in Doylestown Township was held at the Fanny Chapman over the weekend at the Doylestown Dog Park Fido float. And dogs from members from the dog park and non-members of the Doylestown community dogs all arrived at Fanny Chapman and were flouncing around in the water. Members of the Fanny Chapman board were. It was a very fun event, very successful. So congratulations to the dog park folks, those volunteers, and everyone who came out to have fun. And I suspect that they're going to do it again next year because it was extremely successful.
Barbara, just can I have 30 more seconds? I neglected to. A resident came up to me, went on the tour. We had the tour of the building, and he was just totally impressed that this township cared enough to spend as much time as it took to walk him and the other residents around through the building. And he was just overflowing, and he was particularly impressed that the chief took the time and the effort to walk through, explain things, answer every question. So that felt good to hear that from him, and I thank the staff and the chief and Dick for putting that on.
Mrs. Woodbury was here as well.
Okay.
And the others. Thank you.
You guys did great.
Thank you.
Moving right along.
Okay, next item, pavilion at Furlong. This matter was tabled from our last meeting because we wanted to get some input from the folks at Temple Judea on the access road off Rogers Road through the complex. So I assume that conversation took place.
Actually, a representative is here. Gia Raffaelli from the synagogue is here, and you're right. There were different perspectives in the audience amongst the public as to whether or not the access road, access drive, whatever you want to call it, from Rogers Road through the development should occur, should not occur. So while we're waiting for Mr. Mills to put a plan up, I think we can focus on that perspective in a minute when he produces it. Mr. Mills, just for the public's edification, do you want to just point out the area we're speaking of?
Here's Rogers Road, and the access to Temple Judea is approximately here, and then the one-way access that is being proposed for the pavilion is directly aligned with the access to Temple Judea circle, extending into the site or extending into the site.
Do we have a mobile mic? Are you asking about a mobile mic back there, Ed?
I think he's asking him to speak into the microphone. He was in front of the microphone, so
Okay.
sorry, yeah.
All right, I think we got it.
Gia, would you be kind enough to go to the podium and reflect upon the request and the position of the temple to the conversation we're having?
Yeah. Good afternoon, evening. It's nice. It's an early meeting. Gia Raffaelli Shore. I'm here on behalf of Temple Judea. I was a participant in the land development meetings, several of them, when we received our amended approvals and were able to build Temple Judea several years ago. At that time, Temple Judea participated in several public planning commission meetings, both here at the township and at Lenape. We participated in our traffic engineer preparing a study, revising a study, coming to several meetings based solely upon traffic. In addition, the township was well served by its traffic engineer at the time, who also came up with recommendations. As a result of all of those meetings, several recommendations were put before us as part of our plan approval. One of those was us agreeing not to turn left onto Rogers Road. In addition, one of those was for us to work with the Grasso plan at the time, which might not have been exactly like this, but essentially the same purpose in terms of having certain commercial and retail uses, to come up with a solution, because the township was forward-looking in its vision and wanted to have planning for the whole area and the concerns of the residents at the time. And as a result of that, it came up that if Grasso was built, it would have a cut-through, because there was discussions regarding a traffic light on 263, safe access for Temple Judea in and out of its site, concerns of the residents about additional traffic going up Rogers Road. One of those was the no left turn signal. And the other solution, which was publicly discussed and agreed at the time, was the cut-through the Grasso site down to 263. We were in support of it at the time. We remain highly in support of it now. I think it's good planning. I think it provides us safe ingress and egress, and I think it works for the community that we're a part of.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Raphael? Sure.
Yes. What if you don't get the cut through? What's the impact to your?
If we don't get the cut through, I mean, there was a condition in our approval that we would look to a traffic light at Rogers Road and 263. There aren't warrants for us at that intersection. A traffic light was investigated and it was not possible. So that's not an option for us. Okay. Right now, we all turn right. We remind the synagogue members to turn right. But what I do when I go there, I turn right out of the synagogue and I make a right to go over to Edison Furlong Road away from my house because I don't like the difficulties we have sometimes in making a left onto 263.
Right.
It's not ideal. So we're looking forward to having the cut through down to a light to have better and easier access, safer access for the synagogue members. I know a lot of the other people do the same thing.
Okay.
So if there wasn't a cut through, one of the options would be having a left turn out of the synagogue.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a left turn to have different access to different points. I mean, it was a compromise in all essence on our part to not have a left turn. It wasn't an ordinance requirement. It wasn't a plan requirement. It was part of the overall planning, the looking at the development of all the sites at the time and said, okay, we'll do this, but give us the cut through so that we know where we can go so we're not so restricted. I mean, believe me, there's a lot of questions that we have to answer all the time now. Why can't we go left, And we explain it to them, and we're a good neighbor. We do everything we can to do that, but we're looking forward to having this cut through to make it safer and easier access all around.
Thank you. All right, any other questions from the board? Does anyone out there have any questions for the attorney for the temple? Mr. Bengler?
I wish Jeff would have read, there's a bunch of conditions. There were about 4 or 5 conditions on the plan, and this is from 2009 and 10. I don't know how many people remember whatever happened at any one place.
I do.
I do. I remember the rabbi standing up and agreeing at the last minute saying, okay, we'll agree to no left turn.
That's fine. That's fine. Gia, did you apply to the state for a permit for a light?
What we did was through our traffic engineer in accordance with the township's traffic engineer supplied I'm not a traffic engineer. I know that we supplied the required information through our traffic engineer and through the township's traffic engineer, and we were told that the light was not warranted.
Okay.
So we complied with that condition of the approval.
Right. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions for this attorney? Ma'am?
My name is Ann Woodbury. I'm at 680 Spring Valley Road. Shana Tova.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming in your high holidays. I think that the temple has been a good neighbor as far as I know. I'm on Spring Valley Road, not on Rogers, so I'm not directly affected one way or the other by that. But to the best of my knowledge, you have been a very good neighbor and have abided by the no left turn. And we really do appreciate that as a resident. I want to thank you for that and commend you for that. I think the concern for me and the reason, and I was the one that proposed eliminating the access, I'll be honest with you. Okay. There's 2 reasons that I thought that might not work well. One is that access is across from your entrance and exit. Right. That's as far away from your building, not the one close by the building.
Right.
It doesn't, it goes over to the body shop then. Right. So you'd have to drive away from your building, across the street, through a shopping center, and then get to a traffic light. I guess if you feel that's more expeditious, that's great. It doesn't seem to me like that might that would help you?
It actually is much, much better because there's a lot of difficulty coming down Rogers Road and making that left onto 263. And it gets backed up even now sometimes, depending upon what's going on at the synagogue. And at night, it's even more dangerous. And we do have religious school at night. At least during the winter months, it's dark. So we looked at a lot of different options. I understand it's farther from the building, but it's lined up perfectly. So we do the circle anyways. There's pickup and drop off for religious school.
Right.
So it's not inconvenient at all for us to go that way. And then the people that want to go right on 263 can certainly use the entrance closest to the building. So they would go out, make a right. The people want to go left with there. And there's pavement marking. So from everything I've seen over the years with the traffic reports and recommendations, for us, it works wonderfully.
Okay. All right. Well, then, I think, again, this is looking at now the Grasso plan. My issue was not traffic from the temple on Rogers Road, but from the 250-child daycare center, where children would have to be picked up and dropped off. And the closest way to get in is off of Rogers Road. So that has nothing to do with you. I appreciate that. But that's where that thought came from, was since you were already being a good neighbor, already complying with what you would been asked, already have compromised, and I was not here for those meetings, and all that is appreciated. My concern is now, and I know you're trying to work with this plan. This plan has evolved. There's many iterations of the various Grasso engineering firms that have tried things. But this latest one has a very large daycare center right across from your driveway. So that's what I've been concerned about.
Is it still one way in? Okay.
But they're going to come to drop off and come back, we're afraid, to pick up. I mean, they're preschoolers. They can't drive themselves, and they're not going to be bused. So that's a lot of traffic that potentially comes up Rogers.
Okay, thank you. Don't leave yet, though, I was going to say. Okay, thanks. All right, so where are we? That question, I think, is pretty
I think you need to get a board
obvious.
perspective on that question, I
Sure.
think, at this point.
They can't have a traffic light at 263 and Rogers Road. And the Temple folks come out of Temple and go and are expecting to go through that Grasso track,
Right.
the Grasso development.
Well, my perspective
Yes.
is that, yes, we all sat through many meetings, and both with the temple and with Grasso, and
And the residents.
The Township Board of Supervisors agreed that that was the approach we were going to take, and that means a lot. Maybe all the members on here weren't there at the time, but to me, that's not the issue. This board, in good faith, said we will support that plan, and I don't see any way to waver from that. There's nothing here that tells me to waver from that, and I think it holds up the integrity of this board.
Chief, you had something?
Just a question. It sounds to me like the synagogue did a good faith with prohibiting left turns on the Rogers Road.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion, or would there be any willingness of the Grasso tract to limit left turns off of Rogers Road into that access point to help alleviate cars traveling Rogers Road from Spring Valley?
So that folks wouldn't go down Rogers Road?
So it'd only come from 263.
So you can only come from 263.
I don't know how you would do that.
Limit no left turns. Just post it.
But it's already, yeah.
The only people that can really come in there would be from York Road or from your facility.
Maybe from Spring Valley.
Can't make a left.
I don't know.
From
a traffic perspective.
Phil, you want to go to the podium?
Phil Worst, the traffic engineer for the Grasso folks. I don't think that impacts the development one way or another.
Well, I think the question is there a way you can control it?
Well,
As an engineer, if we just presented an idea to you, if you're coming down Rogers, not to turn left off of Rogers into the one-way entrance, right? So how, as a traffic engineer, how would you propose to control that?
Well, it depends who I'm working for, I suppose. Frankly, no, I mean that tongue-in-cheek, because the issue is that there's not a traffic engineering reason to not have that road open. It's really one of convenience and protection from residents who perceive an issue. I've always been of the perspective that township always has the opportunity and the rights to restrict a driveway and a road that accesses one of their roads. I always try to wait for a problem to arise, especially when it's kind of nebulous whether there is going to be a problem, and go from there. So allowing access there, I think, is prudent. I mean, it allows residents that live in Spring Valley and Rogers Road to access the site. And I've always been the same story from the beginning that I think it's silly that if you live on Rogers Road and you want to shop here, you have to come around. I mean, that's their choice. That's fine. You have to come out at the light, make a right turn onto York Road, and then a right turn back onto Rogers. So the perspective of just the access, I think, is prudent to keep it open. From the issue, when you restrict something like that, it could work, but it puts a burden that on the police to get calls. Hey, they're making left turns there, and then you have to send someone out and so forth. But it certainly could work, just like the left turn is working. The no left is working coming out of the synagogue.
Right. Okay.
I can see it increasing the congregants at Temple Judea, that so many people would become a member of Temple just so they can turn around the parking lot and access the one-way access into the complex. Go ahead, Gia. No, please.
I don't know if anyone's asking me, but I could probably say on behalf of Temple Judea, we wouldn't necessarily be in favor of having that additional restriction on our access to the synagogue. I don't know, unless there was some real public safety issue, which I don't think that there is. I think all the traffic reports at the time, which wouldn't have changed, didn't recommend that. It's just, I think it's hard to enforce. It would put a burden on us as well, because we already, and agreed to it and have no problem doing it, enforce the no left and make requests of that of our members at meetings and at big events and stuff like that. To further restrict it, to me, I just don't think it's warranted.
I'm not trying to restrict you in any way, in any movements at all. I'm trying to restrict the movements from Spring Valley towards 263 left into the shopping center.
Okay, but what if one of our congregants lives on the other end of Spring Valley, let's say, over by the end of the borough, and they come down Spring Valley and want to make a left, or, whatever. They want to come down 313 and make a right onto Spring Valley and then make a left onto Rogers Road to get to the synagogue.
They can do that. I'm not restricting right turns into your place. I'm restricting left turns into the shopping center.
Oh, from down there?
So what's to keep somebody doing what Mark just said?
Nothing, but you're hoping that most people do abide by the traffic signals and restrictions. So,
all right, maybe I didn't understand.
It's just an idea. It's thinking outside the box.
What's the anticipated traffic dedicated solely to the daycare? Do we know that?
Take the stand. Sorry, podium.
Based on the design and the size of the daycare site, they're proposing 120 children. I don't know from a traffic standpoint how many cars what that translates to, but just from a capacity.
They're not all coming off.
Not all. No, exactly. That's the overall capacity of the daycare.
263. There are two entrances into.
Correct.
Your plan. 3, including the access road. 313. 4 entrances. Okay. Any other comments or questions before we pass on this? Not that it needs to be passed on, but
just one other comment, Rick, and I appreciate what Rick was commenting on about the board, based on that agreement, and we should stand by that. But at that time as well, there wasn't a daycare proposed at that site. So the plan, or it was, when those, it was always a daycare? But didn't it change to warehousing at one time?
No, it still had a daycare.
And also at the same time, if I may, the site next to us was proposing a daycare, on our side, right? So there was that consideration discussion at the time as well.
Okay.
The artifacts, property, I believe.
All right, sorry. I got yelled at.
Can I just add one thing?
Please come up to the front.
Oh, have to come up to the
Yes, yes, please, take the podium. Don't talk.
Don't talk till you get there.
I'm new to this whole thing, but my mom is part of the development. If you're going to have a daycare, my name's Gwen Bernstein.
Okay.
Martha Haggerty. If you're going to have a daycare there, that's also buses.
No, this is private.
It's a private daycare for residents because typical buses come
Most
into daycares.
But have bus from schools to the
Yeah.
daycares
It's
after
more
school.
like
They all have-
morning, afternoon, and evening.
Morning and afternoon.
Just a FYI.
Yeah, just like after school care, yeah. But
So that's another, just a, thing.
Thank you. Anybody else? Come on up. Can't see you.
Bob Barber, 42 Coon Drive, and I guess I'm not opposed to anything that has been said here today, with one exception that I think needs to be considered. We walk on Rogers Road. We see bikers daily on Rogers Road. We walk dogs on Rogers Road. The increased traffic is a problem. The police do a very good job of patrolling the area, but they can't be there 24 hours a day. And if this is passed, I really think we need to put some traffic controls in, whether they're commonly called speed bumps or whatever. Nobody likes them. I don't like them. I won't want to use them. But if it's going to save a life, I'm for that. So I'd like to, if this is passed, I'd like that to be strongly considered. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Murphy?
I think he's looking for some direction from the board as to the access road.
Right. When we left off last month, we were going to have the supervisors reconsider the Rogers Road access, and if that conversation is now going to move forward beyond that, then I think we're at a point where the board should, or we'd like the board to provide some direction to us to move forward with the engineering of this particular sketch. Obviously, it's a sketch, and the next step would be to fully engineer it in accordance with the typical township requirements and move ahead, which is what we're hoping to happen.
Well, I think that it's fair to say that we've moved past the access road question. Is that right? Yes,
Yeah.
we moved past
Yes,
the access road question.
I don't want to parse words, but and I just want to be clear that all we're approving or agreeing with is to stay with the original access road, et cetera. The other issues with impervious, you can do whatever engineering you want to do, but that's another whole issue.
Right. The first issue is, do we maintain the current sketch with the Rogers Road access as it has been suggested long ago? If we're beyond that, then yes, now we have to deal with the merits of this particular plan, right? And I know board members have commented at prior meetings about it, but I think we're at a point where we'd like to get some direction from the entire board as to where we're going next. But yes, Rick, you're right.
Well, thoughts?
Comment.
Are we thoughts on the access road?
Thoughts on the sketch plan itself. They want some direction as to whether they've modified impervious, they saved a tree, they've done a lot of what we've already.
Yeah, and we, at prior meetings, reviewed the modifications required to the ordinance to do it, and I know Ken has been a vocal spokesperson about that.
My thought is that there's still too far of a gap between.
You said that the last
Yeah,
time,
so
right?
I mean, that's kind of where I.
Right.
Gap between.
Well, I mean, they've come down on the impervious surface, but I still think the gap's too wide between what the what's the word I'm looking for? Ordinance is and where they are.
I agree. I mean, my position hasn't changed on this. So.
Seal?
Hi, my name's Cecile Balazet from Foxcroft Drive. I just had a question about the daycare center. I know the number was used of 240, but tonight you mentioned 120. Is that
I never knew where the 240 came from. The only number I've ever known was 120. But
Okay, so it's capped at 120. You could have no more than 120
Could
children.
be.
that's what's proposed.
Maybe the numbers were 240 with coming and going.
I see. Because that would double. Right. I mean, that's a lot of people, and the time frame for drop-off of the children and the pickup, we all know is a stressful time, and people will speed, and they cut corners, and they will probably not abide. And that's got to be a reality. So I wanted to bring that up. The other thing that I personally have a concern about is although we don't live off of Rogers, we live off of Spring Valley. And Spring Valley is a speedway. It is embarrassing the speed that people will fly down that road on their phones and just zoom. And my husband and I, we walk our dogs around the block, and we no longer feel that it is safe for us to walk on Spring Valley. So we do not walk there. Rogers Road has less opportunity to go up on someone's lawn as we had done in the past. When I heard a car, we just got up on somebody's lawn, and I know no neighbor would mind that. But on Rogers, depending on what size you're walking, it could be a hill or whatever. There was some person who was injured, I believe, in the time that we've lived in the township and died from their injuries, being hit on Rogers, and I believe there was someone else who was hit on Rogers and injured. There's schools, children being picked up. Again, there's walkers, there's bikers, and I think the residents and their safety should be highly considered. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Where are we?
Well, you've gotten comments from Ken and Ryan, and there's 3 other board members, so I think Mr. Murphy's looking for some comments.
What's the impervious contrast?
I think we're at 45 now, and I know Ken's going to say it, so I'll say it first. It's 45 with the relief that we seek.
For parking and whatever.
Yeah, which we've talked about at length before, but we're at 45 now, yes.
Well, frankly, I don't have a problem with the relief from, in order to get to 45, that you get that relief. I don't have a problem with that at all. I've seen so many of these plans. I've seen you guys make a real effort to comply with as best as you can with the ordinances and still, do something viable there. I'm mindful of the residents. I don't know what more you can do. If you can bridge that impervious so that Ms. Mannion and Mr. Snyder are a little happier, that would be good. If you can't, you can't. I think you're going in the right direction, but I can't say to you you need to engineer. You're allowed to engineer with 45%. I think there's just too much opposition at this point. Sean, what do you think?
Well, question for Ed is, I mean, you I think emphasized before that when Ken's asked about other, can you do any more of the impervious? If you've said that, is this it? I mean, is this as far as you're able or, quote, willing to?
Yeah, and I mean, no disrespect when I said that last time, but I think we're at a point where, as I said last time, we tried to draw a balance between what the ordinance provides, what the by right plan with the other types of uses and where they would be located as opposed to this, and what impact it has on the impervious. So I think this represents the best balance at 45% as opposed to the 40% where the ordinance would otherwise require you to go. So.
And if the board said no to this, what would you do?
Well,
what's your option?
The option is to go back and do the by right plan with the industrial use in the back and some retail in the front, which we've already rejected once before, and we think this plan has a lot more benefit in terms of the increased buffer and setback from the residents on Rogers, which is the whole idea when I started this a couple years ago when I first got involved. So
But you could appeal to the zoning board if you wish to.
Yeah, you could.
She asked what options, you just gave one.
Yeah, but that's not realistic. I think what's realistic is if we can't succeed with this plan, I think we'll have to go back and do what we're allowed to do, or by right we're allowed to do, so. And that has its own issues.
My point was, Barbara's question was, what do you do next? I know you want direction from the board, and you're going to get mixed, maybe messages. Maybe Barbara's already said she's all right with the impervious, maybe, or said,
I was all
not
right
okay.
with how they got to the
How they got to the
45%.
formula.
Right.
So I don't want to put words in your
Yeah.
mouth. But the point is, you might, if you're looking for a specific concrete direction, maybe the answer has to be back to you, or a question back to you is, if this is all, if you've already said this is all you can do, and you either need to go with it or not. I know that's not a direction or an answer, but
Right.
I know that. It's like, and I don't want it to sound like a cop-out, but it's like if you're saying, this is the best we can do, and the alternative is for us to go by right, the industrial complex, which we've not.
Right, so I guess the question for you is, much like what Barb's comment is, are you okay with that or not, I guess, given the extent to which we've talked about it previously? Do you think we've made a sufficient effort and compromise to get to this point, I guess, is what we're looking for the remaining board members that haven't spoken to it?
You've lived with this plan almost as long as I lived with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Or this,
I agree with Ed. I'd like to hear what Sean's, he talked it, but he didn't make a decision, didn't give a comment. Go ahead.
Myself?
Yeah, he wants to know, are you okay with 45% impervious?
I think the point of, they've made a point that they've made a lot of concessions and how they've come to this. So I would say, if that's the best they can do, viewing the other option, the industrial scenario.
But the question isn't about impervious. The question is all the other things that we talk about. There's a lot of other relief.
Which we've reviewed in detail at many meetings in the past.
I don't want this to make this an impervious discussion.
Well, it's one of them. It's probably one of the most significant ones, that's true. But there are others, but we've been through all those. And a lot of the others spring from the fact that we've moved the development from the back to the front to try to provide as large a buffer and newly landscaped area as possible. And that's creating...
that is true. I mean,
It
you
is.
can't
It's
use that against them because they're
Right.
making it nicer for the residents.
Right. So...
Well, I think we already have know the temperament of the residents of the Plan A versus this.
Residents would rather have nothing there.
All right, but but Plan A versus...
They would rather have that be a park. That's what the
Well,
residents...
I wasn't considering A being
So that's-
nothing. I meant A
that's-
being, as Ed said, by right, is what I meant.
Right, but they are allowed to build there. They own that property, and they're allowed to build what? They're allowed to build industrial, and they're allowed to
Right.
build...
Commercial in the front.
And I think it's important to point that out, Barb. Like, listen, the property can be developed. I'm not fighting no development.
I
And
appreciate
think the
that.
residents, I think you guys have to understand too, if we're able to come back and say, listen, this isn't going to work, but they come back with an industrial plan that meets all the ordinances, like, that's what I said at the last meeting. Listen, there's too much gap between the ordinances and where you guys are. So, we do run the risk of you guys ending up with an industrial park which fits. And if they come back with a plan that fits, for me personally, I'm not going to be able to say, no, you can't do that, because that's my beef, for better lack of a word, with what's happening now. So I think, I think also from you guys, you have to look at the balance there. And, for me, I'm trying to represent your wants and desires for this land and make sure that it's the best thing for you guys being the neighbors to this property. So I think it's important for us to all kind of take a look from that perspective too, on the flip side of what this can be.
Sia, you have another comment?
I know this was discussed at the last supervisors meeting, some of the things that were not to spec, and one of them was the parking spaces.
Right.
So to reduce the impervious surface to 47%, you are reducing the size of the parking spaces for all the residents to come to your commercial property. So it's a tighter parking spot. It's not to code. Code is 10 by 20, and you're making it 9 by 18. So
Some of them, yes.
some
Correct.
of them, probably 5 to 7% would be code. the balance would be very tight. That's not thinking of the residents or caring about the residents, it's thinking about your number. What you could do, which you have been against doing, is cut down one of your strip mall stores. That would make a difference, because right now, you're really at 55% if you had the correct size parking spot that would be friendly to all of our cars. And if you like your car, you don't like dings. And the code is 40. So you're a bit off. So there's still a gap. They're not thinking about the residents, and if they reduced one of the shops in the strip mall, that would probably do it, or bring it significantly less. You took away the walkway and you narrowed the roadway, but the parking spaces would be used all the time. And again, this is a gateway corner to our area, and it might not be the friendliest. Thank you.
Mr. Bingler?
Yeah.
I've always said that I believe this thing's way over the impervious surface, and it's even more than that, 57%. We've talked about that. There's things that haven't even been put on the plan. If there is a water system put in, where's the road, where's whatever, it all adds up in the impervious surface. It just keeps growing and growing. I would like everybody to go home tonight, and I've asked Rick this before, I'd like you to pull into your garage and just pull in as far as your doors on the side and try to open the doors on your car. That is a 9-foot wide spot. Most of your doors, your garage doors at home, are 9 feet. This is just, I mean, right now we're talking the township giving away, okay, it's not just 17%, it's actually, if you work it out, it's almost 25% increase in what our ordinance is, for one thing. Just too much for the property. Let's go back to when he talked about putting the truck garage back in, or the industrial. If you remember, Rick, you were on the Planning Commission back then. Away went the road for the temple. You remember that? There was no road for the temple anymore with the truck outfit. Do you remember that?
No.
Well, I'll bring you the plans.
It wasn't even a plan, it was just a concept at that point. So no road left.
If you walked into a bank and you had a $40 check and you asked the teller to cash that $40 check and they gave you $57, just like the...
No.
50, oh,
47.
Yeah.
It's 47%, not 57%.
57%.
It's 47.
Today.
Jim's
Today.
talking about something different.
It's 57%, Barbara.
Let's go back through all the numbers again.
No.
No, you're talking 55. You agreed that it was 55, and I'm telling you there's things that haven't been put on the plan. And I'm saying that this board is like the bank, and you're upholding the bank's money.
I'm showing to you.
The question was about the litigation.
There is litigation from the turn down of an old plan, but that's still pending, and doesn't have, I mean, in all candor, doesn't have a lot of viability for the applicant.
I just wanted to make clear that the residents know that's on the, quote-unquote, on the table.
I don't know that that should be a decision maker in this connection.
No.
As part of all of this, that would be resolved. But, I mean, obviously, the preference would be to a plan like this. But if we have no other choice, then we will go back and do the by right plan with the industrial use in the back and the commercial in the front. I mean, we can't just continue to talk about it and not make any headway, one way or the other. I know Ken and Ryan are perfectly happy to make that leap. I'm just trying to find out where the other three are.
Well, I think, I'm not speaking for them, but I think their leap is not opposed to the plan, but you've got to lose some square footage to get down the impervious surface to a manageable and reasonable and consistent number.
But I don't know, we've already done that twice. and I don't know how many more times, if at all, we're prepared to keep doing it. So that's all. Because we have to draw a balance.
I think, Ed, you're going to do it. I don't think I have, we have the support here for that plan with that macadam. Something has to be crunched. Building has to be curbed. I know you saved the tree, but.
And I know there's some disagreement on the board, and that's great. But, I mean, and I've been saying this from the day one on the Planning Commission 15 years ago. I mean, there's ordinances for a reason.
Right.
And I'm a reasonable person, and there's always a little give and take. But I have to look at every project and not get emotionally involved in it. I have to look at it on its merits. And if I like this applicant, I give him 57. If I don't like this one. So, that's the position that I feel supervisor has. And to me, and I mentioned it before, all the give back was stuff from our ordinance. From the 57 to get it to the 45 was the trail and the width of the, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to go over it over and over again. So it's up to you where you want to go next, but I'm not in favor of 45% approving 45% impervious.
Okay.
There you have it.
There we have it. Okay.
So
Thanks.
go back to your drawing board and sharpen your pencils
Okay, guys.
before you come back with another plan.
Okay, we'll talk.
Come on. Shorten something. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right. New business. It's a grant application for tree vitalize.
Yes.
If you're leaving, please do so quietly. We're going to continue on with our meeting. Thank you.
Excuse me. The Environmental Advisory Council would like to apply for a Tree Vitalize grant for $4,200. Our match would be $1,050, and this can be done through volunteer and staff time for planting. The Tree Vitalize project would be the Neiman Park. This is something that the EAC supports, and we have received Tree Vitalize grants in the past. We just did this past spring the backside of the environmental education area, and this fall the planting down at Bridgepoint. We would recommend that we be able to submit this grant application.
Is there a motion to authorize the grant application? I'll make a motion.
Second.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, got it. Our 2016 financial requirement for our minimum municipal obligation.
You're not required to take action. This is notification to you as to what it will be. There's no action required.
The board recognizes the receipt of them and that the pension committee did review them in detail this afternoon at 4 o'clock meeting and did recommend that the board acknowledge receipt of them and accept them.
Well, you don't accept them. You acknowledge that you were notified as to your obligation.
We know what that is.
Mr. Snyder knows. He's shaking his head.
I remembered
We know
it
what the
all.
obligation is. All right, thank you. Eagle Scout proclamation of Jacob Scup, Troop 6. Is there a motion to approve his proclamation?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
His court of honor is September 26th. Do you know where that is? Troop 6.
The Methodist Church?
Methodist Church.
It's up on 313.
Right. At 1 o'clock, on September 26th, 1 o'clock at the Doylestown United Methodist Church. Congratulations. All right, next item on the agenda. Treasurer's report from September 15, 2015. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And then the bills list for September 15, 2015. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, announcements. Our next meeting is Tuesday, October 6th at 4 p.m. We're meeting on this Trail Awareness Day is Saturday, September 20th, starting at 8 a.m. at Doylestown Hospital. Community yard sales, October 3rd, Central Park from 8 to 1. Rain date is October 4th. Leaves and Yard Recycling is, drop-off site is every third Saturday, township residents only, March through December, 9 a.m. to 11, and you access from New Britain Road to Central Park. We need volunteers for the Bridgepoint Park, Saturday, October 3rd, from 9 to noon. And the CB Cares Ed Fund and Doylestown Township Parks and Rec Department are joining for the Global Initiative, Young People Around the World in Performing Arts, on Saturday, September 19th, that's this Saturday, 6 to 9 p.m. at the Covenant Bank Amphitheater at Central Park. And don't forget, we've got some budget dates set up for October 6th at 5 p.m., October 14th at 4 p.m., and October 20th at 4:30 p.m. We see no other business. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Good night.